A candle burning in the dark trembling walls, and an innocent girl battling the demons within her. This was the beginning of the terrifying saga the world knows as Fate the Exorcist Fae. But the story didn't end there. The real storm was about to hit, and this storm brought Fae exorcism to the heretic Fae. The story begins in the scorching wilderness of Africa. There, Father Philippe Lamont is performing an exorcism on a girl. But something was wrong. His words were trembling, his faith was wavering, and then the girl's clothes catch fire. Amid screams, the fire engulfs her, and guilt appears on Father's face, along with fear. Cut to New York here. Now 16-year-old Regan McClan is trying to build a new life after that horrific incident. She now attends a therapy clinic, where she is being treated by Dr. Jin Tuskin. Regan is now calmer and more composed than ever. At least that is what it appears on the surface, but something still resonates within her, something she neither remembers nor forgets. Dr. Chin uses a new technology, a synchronization machine that can connect two brains. This means the brainwaves of both doctor and patient are synchronized, and the doctor can feel the pain Regan once suffered. But Regan believes she is fine now, she doesn't need any therapy. The doctor refuses to believe it because she sees that something is still alive inside. Meanwhile, Father Philip is summoned to the Vatican. There, the Cardinal assigns him the task: investigate Father Merrin's death. Yes, the same Father Merrin who rescued Regan from Pazuzu's clutches in the first film. The Cardinal tells Philip to keep it quiet. The Church doesn't want the world to know that demonic forces are real. But a fire had been ignited within Father Philip. He wanted to find out how Merrin died, and to do that he had to meet Regan. Regan and Philip's first meeting was nothing short of a storm. Regan was still innocent, but there was a different world in her eyes. Dr. Jins initially resists Philip talking to Regan because it might rekindle his forgotten pain. But Regan herself declares, "I am ready," and then the synchronization machine restarts. Regan and Dr. Jin connect. Suddenly, an old scene flashes before the doctor's eyes. Father Merrin, the scorching sands of Africa, and a strange boy whose eyes hold more mystery than fear. Then, the shadow of the arm and Regan's heartbeat begin to accelerate. The machine begins to malfunction, lights begin to flicker, and then Father Philippe connects himself to the machine. He wants to experience that darkness for himself, and that is exactly what happens. A vision comes. Father Merrin is standing before Pazuzu. He is alone but determined, and then Pazuzu attacks him. Everything goes blurry and the machine shuts down. Dr. Jin is gasping. Regan is unconscious, and Father Philippe's eyes are no longer filled with fear. He has a mission. He knows Pazuzu isn't gone yet. His roots are deep, and if he is to be defeated forever, he'll have to start where it all began. Africa, shrouded in darkness, nights, and chilling silences. This is the beginning of another chapter where the human spirit is once again about to confront the forces of evil. Regan was now trying to live a normal life. The light had returned to her smile, but something behind her eyes was constantly unsettling her. Dr. Jin was giving her therapy using a strange machine that could synchronize brainwaves. Regan says she doesn't remember anything, but when she is connected to the machine, something awakens within her. Something that wasn't human, something that still lurked within her. Meanwhile, Father Philippe had been summoned by the Church not to give her a job, but to silence her. The Church didn't accept that the devil could exist, and if Regan's case was true, their entire beliefs would be at risk. But Father Philippe knew it was true, and that truth kept him from resting. He came to New York, met Dr. Jin, and resolved to understand Regan's case for himself. When Regan and the doctor were connected to the machine again, something strange happened. The machine's lights began to flicker, and the fear returned to Regan's face. The same fear that had haunted her years earlier when she met Pazuzu, who had lived within her, was now connected to the machine. Their vibrations merged, and suddenly everything changed. Father Philip had a vision. He was in Africa, where tits covered the sky. People were praying, and a child possessed by a strange light was fighting evil. These weren't dreams, they were memories of someone else, perhaps Pazuzu, or perhaps the child who had stood up to evil years before. Regan began to understand that she wasn't alone. There were other souls like her, blessed with psychic gifts, to see the future, to listen to others' hearts, and to find light in the darkness. But this very power was now in danger. Pazuzu had returned, and his purpose was clear: to destroy children who might stand in his way. Regan was no longer just a girl, it was a spark that, at the right time, could turn into a flame. The question was she ready to jump into that fire, and would Father Philip be able to reach the bottom of that darkness? Or was Pazuzu still lurking? The fire of this mysterious journey had just been kindled. In the darkness, the flames of candles burned, and between them, the sobs of trembling souls. Why? The third and final episode of the story begins right there. Regan and Father Philip have returned to the same old house in Washington, the same house where Pazuzu had once entered Regan's innocent body for the first time, laying the foundation for fear. Now the walls of that house trembled with fear again, the same old silence hung in the air, but this time, along with the fear, there was also hope. Regan was no longer an ordinary girl. She had recognized herself, a girl who could draw the darkness hidden within others into light. But Baju wanted to end all this. He knew that if Regan lived, she could bring light to others too. As Regan and Father Philip entered the house, the air suddenly became heavy. There was a jolt, and old dust-covered toys on the floor began to shake. Father Philip sensed that Pazuzu was somewhere nearby. Just then, a loud scream comes from a corner of the house. It was none other than Regan's double. This double-ganger looked identical to Regan, but there was fire in her eyes. Her face was filled with devilishness. She began to confuse Father Philip. Who will you save, Father, me or her? Both are the same, but I can show you the truth. Father Philip's spirit began to waver, but Regan, using her inner strength, screamed, "It is not me, Father. Listen to your heart." Just then Dr. Jin arrived, but as she entered the house, a swarm of locusts burst into the room. The walls began to crack, and Baju began to transform into his true form. He confused Father Philip once again, exploiting his weakness. He said, "You can't defeat me. I am every human's weakness. Every fear, every greed, every lie, but this time Father Philip doesn't give in." He takes Regan's hand, and together they begin a ritual, the same African chant Kukumba had taught them. Pazuzu screams and writhes in agony, but Regan and Father Philip are unstoppable. During the ritual, the ground suddenly cracks, and from the pit emerge all the spirits that Pazuzu had held captive. One by one, they are freed. Pazuzu is growing weak. Just then, Regan steps forward and, reaching into the chest of Pazuzu's double-ganger, pulls out his heart, which was still beating, but now trembling with fear. As the heart falls to the ground, the entire house shakes. The walls collapse. The roof collapses. Father Philip pushes Regan out and escapes himself. The entire house crumbles into dust as if a nightmare had finally ended. Dr. Jin, standing outside, rushes toward them. Regan is now much calmer than before. Her eyes hold courage, not fear. Father Philip smiles, as if a mission has been accomplished. He looks at Dr. Jim and says, "This girl is no longer alone. She will save the world." Finally, Regan meets a mute girl in a park she couldn't speak. But as soon as Regan takes her hand, she speaks for the first time, "Thank you." This was Regan's new beginning. No longer a prisoner of Pazuzu, she was a guide to souls who had lost themselves. And with this, the story ends. From Exorcist to the Heretic, a mysterious tale of the battle between fear and the soul and hope.